All right, guys. So hopefully you are all wondering what Gemdas means. Like, what? I've heard PEMDAS. What's Gemdas? Okay. So I am going to teach this to you. Now, do not be surprised if your teachers have taught you the wrong way in the past. I know. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but many of you have learned this the wrong way. So we're going to fix it. Okay. So you can continue with the notes that we were doing in the last video because it's kind of everything you need for this week. And we're going to write Gemdas. Okay, and technically, and I'll explain this in a second, it could be Gedmas, it could be Gemsa, it could be Gedmsa. I know it's ridiculous, but you're going to see why. Okay, so your curiosity should be sparked right now. G is no longer just for parentheses. It was just for parentheses when you were young and you didn't know any better, okay? But G is really for grouping, okay? So grouping symbols are parentheses. Grouping symbols are also brackets. And grouping symbols can also be a square root symbol. So what that means is if there's any math inside of that, you have to do that first. If this said 4 plus 2, you have to do the 4 plus 2 first before you can use that symbol, okay? Exponents is still exponents. So just think of it like this. If something said 2 squared, I know 2 squared means 4. So go ahead and just replace it with the 4. In the problem, anywhere that you see exponents, replace them all with actual numbers. This is where it gets crazy. Now, you are not literally doing all the multiplication and then all the division. Multiplication and division gets grouped together, and then you do them left to right. So you literally find all of the multiplication and division in the problem, and you do it in the order of left to right. Okay, I know, before you were doing all the multiplication and then all the division, and it's probably why you were getting these things wrong, okay? So addition and subtraction is the same way. We group it after you do grouping and exponents and all your multiplication and division. And that might mean you divide and then multiply and then divide again. Then we find all the addition and subtraction, and again we go left to right. Okay, it's very important. Please write this down. If you need to, pause it because I'm about to erase. So let's try a couple problems here. So let's try 50 minus 3 times 3 plus 1 squared. Okay? So we first start with our grouping symbols. I see a 3 plus 1. I'm going to make that a 4. Now, I am not going to touch anything else in the problem but that one thing. So I keep the 50. I keep this negative 3. I keep the parentheses for now. And I'll explain to you why in a second because it's not always necessary. I make it a 4 and I put the square. Then I go to my E, exponents. Well, the exponent is only attached to the 4, so I need to do that next. So I keep the 50, I keep the 3, the negative 3, and now I keep the parentheses, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. And 4 squared is 16. Hopefully at this point, you see why I have the parentheses still. Because the parentheses in this problem are telling me to do what operation? That's right, multiply. All right, so if I would have erased those parentheses, right now it would look like I had a 316. And that's not what I have. I had 3 times 16. All right, so then I find all my multiplication and division. In this problem, it's just some multiplication. So I do it. And if you need to, grab that calculator. It's okay, you gotta know the right order anyways, so help yourself out. So I'm going to keep that negative, I'm going to make it a 48 because negative 3 times 16 is negative 48. And then I do 50 minus 48 and I end up with the answer of 2. Now, if you do that math in any other order, you will not get the answer of 2. Okay? You could try it if you want. All right, let's do another one. All right, let's try 9 plus 18 divided by 3 plus 10. Now, I'm going to do it times 2 also. Okay, so then I added a times 2. We're going to make it more complicated than the book did. All right. So we don't have any grouping symbols and we don't have any exponents. So this is where I'm going to really show you what I mean by finding the multiplication and division and doing it all in the same step, just going left to right. So back in the day, maybe, you knew PEMDAS. You may have done the multiplication first. You might have done that 10 times 2, but that's not what we want to do. We want to do it left to right. So in this case, it doesn't really matter, but I need you to have that stuck in your head. So I'm not going to touch that 9, so I leave the 9 plus. 18 divided by 3, I end up with a 6. If you want to help yourself out, cross out what you worked with, what you fixed, what you did in that step, and that way you don't do something twice. I know I'm not going to touch anything addition, so I'm going to leave that, and now I have 10 times 2, which is 20. Because this is all addition, and even if it was subtraction and addition, okay, so don't change yours, but even if it said subtraction, I still go left to right. I'm going to make it back though. Now, with addition, it doesn't matter the order, so I can kind of group these and add them in however I want. But if there was a subtraction sign, you have to go left to right, whatever that order is, and subtraction, the order will matter. Okay, so I have, let's see, 29, 35. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. We're going to do one more, and then I want you to try some on your own, okay? So here is the last one we're going to do. 10 minus 16 divided by 4 times 2 plus 6. All right, so let's tear this one apart. We don't have grouping symbols. We don't have exponents, but we do have multiplication and division. Now, we are not going to multiply and then divide. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep that 10, and we're going to do negative 16 divided by 4. So we're going to get negative 4. And you might want to just do this one little step at a time. Now we need to do that multiplication because it was left to right. So 10, a negative 4 times 2 is negative 8 plus 6. All the multiplication and division's done. So now we're going to add and subtract left to right, or combine positive and negative numbers. So I have 10 minus 8, which is 2, plus 6, which is back to 8. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. I am going to give you some stuff to practice it. You just got to practice. You got to practice this one. And really have Gemdas written in front of you. And really go step by step. Don't try to do too much in one step. That's how I see my students kind of mess this up. If you really just focus on doing one little piece of the problem at a time and writing everything that you didn't touch or you didn't fix, you have a much better shot at getting these right. So good luck, and I will see you soon.